Here in Modesto, California, pilots are prepping this plane to fly into the center of a storm. Flares on the wings and fuselage will inject a substance called silver iodide into the storm clouds, causing water within the clouds to freeze and increasing the amount of precipitation that falls.
We can't make a storm happen, and we can't create conditions in the storm that are ideal. Those happen naturally, and what we're doing is just taking advantage of existing conditions, naturally occurring conditions, and trying to make the storm, again, more efficient from a water supply perspective.
It's called cloud seeding, and as futuristic as it sounds, it's been around since the 1940s. Today, states, utility companies, and ski resorts alike pay companies like Weather Modification International significant money to seed storm clouds and increase snowfall in the drought-ridden American West and worldwide.
Our current project is about $4 million a year. We're very well supported. We have a lot of local stakeholders that are investing in it.
Until recently, the evidence for cloud seeding's efficacy was murky, but research has finally shown unequivocally that it works, and there's been no evidence to show that the seeding agent, silver iodide, is harmful at the current level that it's used. Blestrud says that Idaho Power sees an 11 or 12% increase in snowpack in some areas that it seeds, while Karkit says Turlock's program results in about 60 to 90,000 extra acre-feet of water every year. While it's no cure for the West's historic drought, dozens of cloud seeding programs across the country are ramping up right now as winter gets underway.
These are the flares that we will use when we're above cloud and we need to get the flare down into the cloud. When we're in cloud, we will be using the burn-in-place flare, which can be ignited from the cockpit one at a time. They burn for 4 to 4.5 minutes and they just trail smoke out with the silver iodide.
The world's first cloud seeding experiment, back in 1946, was a bit more simplistic than Zimmer's current setup.
There was a group of scientists back in New York that worked for the General Electric company. They released some dry ice into the top of a supercooled stratus cloud and caused ice to form. And that ice formed and used up the available liquid water of the cloud drops, and the cloud seeding was thus born.
Supercooled means liquid that is below its freezing point but hasn't yet crystallized. Injecting silver iodide into clouds that contain supercooled liquid water causes droplets to freeze together and form snowflakes, which fall to the ground when they reach a certain size. Absent the freezing process, these supercooled droplets wouldn't become heavy enough to precipitate as either rain or snow.
The cloud initially is all water. Eventually, as it gets toward the summit of the mountain, it may be 50% ice, or maybe more than that. Even if it is, there's still a lot of liquid water left there. And the precipitation that's forming has a very short time to get big enough to fall out before it crests the mountain and starts to descend and thus warm. And so that's the window of opportunity.
For cloud seeding pilots, this is when they fly into the storm, which is no easy task.
The first thing we do for safety is turn on all the aircraft ice protection systems. Weather radar is important for us so we don't get into a convective environment like an embedded thunderstorm or something like that.
An average flight lasts between 2 and 4 hours.
By the time the wheels are up, you're in cloud, and we're in cloud the entire mission until we're shooting an approach back into an airport and then pop out of the clouds and have a visual on the runway. Yeah, it feels like you're a sub-commander in the Navy. You don't see anything.
Zimmer seeds clouds for the Turlock Irrigation District in Northern California from November through April every year.
We do a pre-flight check and take off and head to our seeding area, which is over the Sierra Nevada mountains. If we are flying in cloud with decent supercooled liquid water, the most effective tool we have is the burn-in-place flare on the back of the wing, because it's going directly into the cloud and mixing with that supercooled liquid water. If we're just above cloud or at cloud top and we're a little bit colder than where we want to be with the burn-in-place flares, we can transition to the ejectable flares, which shoot the silver iodide down through a warmer layer below us to find that -5 degrees Celsius level where they're most effective in forming ice.
From a water supply perspective, it's most valuable to seed clouds over mountains, where the water is stored as snow until the spring runoff.
If you put it in the mountains, the drainages coming out of the mountains often have reservoirs on them, and so you can capture it that way. When it's out on the plains, such as North Dakota, it's still a benefit because it helps recharge soil moisture. But it can't be stored and used for a later date.
Texas, for example, uses cloud seeding to help irrigate fields for farmers, while states like Idaho, California, Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming use it to help fill up their rivers and reservoirs. Most use planes to do cloud seeding, but some programs use ground-based flares.
There are multiple utilities, both south of us and north of us, that have cloud seeding programs. It's a lot more common than people think. More basins have a seeding program than do not have a seeding program.
For much of cloud seeding's history, its success was measured by comparing the snowfall in an area where cloud seeding occurred to a nearby control area.
And then you look after cloud seeding happens, and if there's a shift in that, so you get more than what's expecting in the target area, then you can equate that to cloud seeding.
This method convinced many states and utility companies like Idaho Power of cloud seeding's efficacy long before tech was good enough to actually see the changes taking place within the clouds themselves. However, there were still plenty of skeptics, given how hard it was to verify cause and effect due to the many variables at play in a storm. But a 2017 collaborative study between various universities, Idaho Power Company, and the National Center for Atmospheric Research, called SNOWY, gave researchers a clear visual of what happens as a cloud seeding plane zigzags through a storm.
And so you could actually see the cloud turn from what's called a super cool liquid water cloud, a cloud that has a bunch of water that's below freezing but stays in the liquid state. And then it started to turn to ice, and it started to grow to a snowflake. And the radar can then see those snowflakes on it, and they could start to see that zigzag pattern there.
The ultimate impact of cloud seeding varies according to location and the nature of the storm. The studies show an overall 5 to 15% increase in precipitation can be expected. A small percentage of that total will be absorbed into the soil, while the rest will become runoff that's hopefully stored in one of the West's shrinking reservoirs. The Turlock Irrigation District has a max budget of $475,000 per year for its cloud seeding program, and says it's seen a 3 to 5% increase in runoff since it started seeding in 1990.
It's percentage-wise, and it's within the realm of natural variability. It's one of the things that makes it so hard to evaluate, is you don't see a doubling or a tripling of the precipitation. You see an incremental increase, but you add that up over the course of a winter, and then it can be significant.
And cost-wise, Bo says that it's almost always worth it.
It's kind of, well, I won't say a no-brainer, but it makes a lot of sense to water managers to go ahead and do it. Even if the increase is on the order of a few percentage points, it's still cost-effective to do it.
When you run the numbers, Blestrud says the multi-million-dollar cloud seeding program that Idaho Power oversees yields billions of gallons of additional water at a cost of about $3.50 per acre-foot. That's compared to about $20 per acre-foot for other methods of accessing water, such as through a water supply bank. States in the lower Colorado River Basin, like California, Nevada, and Arizona, are even helping fund out-of-state cloud seeding operations in the upper basin states, like Utah, Wyoming, and Colorado, hoping excess water will make its way into their lower basin reservoirs.
States are putting money into those programs, knowing that they have no legal claim to any of that water, but since the locals already have enough water, they're figuring that additional water is likely going to pass down into the Green and into the Colorado and make it down their way. So to them, it's very worthwhile to do it.
While cloud seeding is most commonly used to increase precipitation for drought alleviation, it can also be used to suppress hail and clear fog around airports. Internationally, there's been concern that cloud seeding has led to increased flooding, such as in the UAE. This remains unproven, though some experts are pushing for an international body to regulate weather modification activities. So far this year, the Turlock Irrigation District has conducted 6 cloud seeding missions.
We're flying below average right now. We're hoping we get that atmospheric river to show up and bring more moisture to California.
Now that studies have validated the efficacy of cloud seeding, and as the drought in the West persists, interest in this decades-old tech is peaking both nationally and globally.
We're busy right now. We have new contracts starting in the Middle East. We operate in India, Canada, Wyoming, Idaho, California.
Right now, we have deployed every aircraft that we have access to, that the company owns. We don't have anything sitting in reserve.
But as seeding operations ramp up for the winter, Bo warns that this tech can only go so far when it comes to alleviating our water woes.
For us, it's really important that people that want to engage in cloud seeding technology do so with the perspective of water management, not a solution to a drought. because when you're in the throes of a big drought, you're going to have far less opportunities to actually seed clouds. So you need to view it long term as a water management tool, not as a knee-jerk reaction because you're in a drought.